Mr. Jennis. The first 6 minutes is yours, and I turn the floor to you.
Thank you, Chair. We're here to discuss the fact that 18 parliamentarians were targeted by APT-31, a Chinese state-affiliated hacking outfit. I was one of the 18. The attack targeted parliamentarians involved in the Interparliamentary Alliance on China. I should note a great and important legislative network that brings together legislators from various countries and continents across different political traditions working on issues related to the CCP. I should have been informed about this attack. I wasn't, and my questions will focus on the notification of members. The government's public statements have suggested that they were aware of this attack. They chose not to inform members. They shared some information with House administration. Can you confirm whether or not and when the government shared information with House administration about this attack?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Jennis. Through you, Mr. Chair. Indeed, there were exchanges between security partners and the House administration at that time. We can provide perhaps some more details during the in-camera portion, Mr. Jennis. I think what was pointed out during the report, and certainly we can confirm from our end, and certainly our security partners can on their end, that if a similar situation were to occur today, things would certainly have been done differently than they were when this incident occurred.
The government could have informed members directly. From my perspective, there's no reason why they shouldn't have, and this looks like an excuse that they went and told somebody else. In the context of informing House administration, was it discussed whether or not members were informed? Did they express an expectation that members would be informed? Did they express an expectation that members would not be informed? Was that an issue in the conversation?
I hate to do this, Mr. Jennis, but I'd like to suggest that perhaps that could be addressed during the in-camera portion.
Well, okay, I mean, I won't press the point more than to say this, that it's a question of political accountability for the government, whether or not they sought to get this information to members. So if they had asked you not to share that information with members, I think that would be germane to the public conversation around this issue. If they had made other comments, I mean, you know what you know, and I don't know it. So I'm not going to press you beyond your comfort level here. But I do think it is a matter of legitimate public interest what advice the government gave around informing members or not.
It's a fair point. Again, I think the preference would be to be able to provide a truly fulsome response to your question if we could do that during the in-camera portion.
Okay, well, maybe we'll follow up then, and then the committee can make some decisions at that time about what information should be shared publicly. One of the things that has really bothered me about it, I think most members were attacked at their parliamentary accounts. I was not. I was attacked at my personal account. It related to my parliamentary work, of course, but my personal email account, which is not published, was nonetheless targeted. And the response that we heard early on in a media comment made by the Speaker's office was that nothing to worry too much about because this attack was thwarted. My understanding, and if you could just clarify this, is that House of Commons security is not involved in monitoring or protecting the personal non-parliamentary accounts of members in any way. So the Speaker's office, House of Commons administration, would not in any way be able to say whether or not the attack was successful on a personal account. Could you comment on that?
I can confirm that. No, the House administration does not monitor in any way personal emails.
Okay.
About 90 seconds, Mr. Jennis.
Okay. In terms of the protocols that were in place and that are in place now, there have been multiple cases where there were threats, members were not informed. Those protocols have changed, if I understand right, such that members would be, if this event were to happen today, members would be immediately informed. If you can maybe confirm that. And then also, does the directive mean that members would be informed of threats to them that began or took place prior to the introduction of that new directive that might still be relevant to them today?
Again, maybe I'll give a high-level answer, and we can get into it in a bit more detail during the in-camera portion. Indeed, there would be quicker communications with members than in the past, but I think there still is an issue in terms of threshold, because there are, as my notes and as the Speaker's decision alluded to, there are an awful lot of attacks, unfortunately, on the House, and we wouldn't want to see CSIS have a satellite office at the House because constant representations with members would be required. But certainly, I think in this case, had it been the case today as opposed to 2-3 years ago, it would have been handled differently.
Okay. 15 seconds I have left, then that still seems fairly unclear, though. I mean, I understand that there are lots of threats, but if an individual member, because of work they're doing, is specifically being targeted, it's not a generalized threat, it's a specific targeting of a specific member because of work they've done on a foreign policy issue by a foreign government, it would seem reasonable to me that that member has a right to know, especially when they can take remedial action to protect themselves, both with their parliamentary and non-parliamentary accounts. But you're saying it's still not a certainty that they would be told.
Again, I hate to do it, but if we can get into that during the in-camera portion, we can give you a more fulsome response.
I think it's
Mr.
a
Jennison,
matter of significant
unfortunately,
public
I've been
interest. Okay.
courteous with the time here. Colleagues, just in the event that you do find that you're getting to your final kind of 20 or 30 seconds at the beginning of a round, feel free to give the time back to the chair. I'll simply add it to your time later on so that you can have more efficiency in the line of questioning. I certainly don't want to cut off any type of productivity.
Thank you, Chair. When it comes to protecting the security of our democracy, I'm concerned that this government in particular is trying to pass the buck and avoid responsibility on this. House of Commons IT, as I understand, has a very specific and narrow mandate. That is to protect the IT systems of the House of Commons. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So we've received unclassified information regarding conversations that happened between the government representatives, and the House of Commons. And they suggest that, yes, the government provided information to House of Commons IT of a largely technical nature, saying these are attacks that we're aware of, and here's some information that you can use in the context of protecting members from those attacks insofar as they relate to the House of Commons IT system. Is that correct?
Did you want to go further on that?
No, that's correct.
That's correct. So the government has, as an excuse for not informing members, said, well, we thought it was up to the House of Commons to do it. It seems to me to sort of stretch any evaluation of reasonableness that technical information given to House of Commons IT would lead to those IT professionals, saying, I'm going to leave my cubicle and go upstairs and start talking to members of Parliament about these threats. That doesn't seem to me to be the job of House of Commons IT professionals. Would you agree with that?
Thank you for the question, through you, Chair. We action everything that is sent to us, okay,
right,
depending on risks and those elements. And I think we can probably provide more information around specific information that we received through this unclassified briefing in the in-camera version. But just as a publicly, I think I could say that it's not. These types of intervention are kind of piecing a puzzle together. It is not we specifically provide you information around the following. It is
well, yeah. I guess what I'm just trying to get at is generally who's responsible for what, because we don't want buck passing when it comes to security. We want people to take responsibility for the things that they're responsible for, and maybe I'm stereotyping, maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't seem to me that it's likely the job of IT professionals in the House of Commons who are given technical information for responding to the threats to take that information and go around the halls saying, I think I need to let members of Parliament. No, that seems like a function for security experts in the government to be evaluating, not technical IT folks in the House of Commons. Am I right about that? I see folks nodding, but not.
Through you, Mr. Chair, it is the case, Mr. Genius. Like, we we take the threats that are identified for us, we hunt for them, and then once we've hunted for them, if we find them, we address them. And if it's impacting members, we will. But the threat actor that's coming to us and their intention, we're not aware of this. We're just dealing
Right.
with the actual threat.
Right. So the government of Canada in their communications around this have tried to blame their failures to communicate with members of parliament about threats on you. They've tried to say, well, the people with a very narrow and specific mandate around the House of Commons IT system somehow should have taken it upon themselves to assess, measure the threat, and go and inform members. And what you're confirming is that you have a specific mandate around protecting the House of Commons IT system. It doesn't include my personal email, and it also doesn't include broader assessments of security threats and of what is or is not in the public interest to inform members. So if you're comfortable answering this question, like, what is your response to the government's communications around this that seem to want to direct the blame to you instead of take responsibility for their decision not to inform members?
It would be best to deal with that in camera, sir.
Okay, you are fully protected in whatever you say before this committee, but I don't want to put you in more of an uncomfortable position than the government already has, because I have a great deal of respect for the work done by House of Commons employees, but expecting someone to do something that's not their job isn't fair or reasonable. As has been said, you're not tracking my personal emails. You're not addressing my security in those kinds of situations. And you're not our security agencies. The House of Commons is not a security agency. It's the government's responsibility to communicate with members about these matters, and they fail to do it.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses for being here this morning. I have a couple of questions, and the first I want to recognize that I'm asking this question in a public setting, so I want to set the premise that I'm not requesting you divulge any specific names of members or foreign state actors in your response. The Speaker ruled that the failure to notify Mr. Genis and the other MPs who were targeted in this case did amount to a prima facie question of privilege. House administration, the government, and security agencies were aware of both specific members and a specific foreign state actor as a threat, and members were not informed until external revelations came to light, in this case the FBI, Department of Justice in the US. Mr. Genis rightfully raised the point of whose responsibility it was to speak to members about that. But that aside, I want to ask each of you a yes or no question for reasons of not divulging anything from a security perspective or anything under review. Are any of you aware of any other past or current cases in which you, in your respective roles, have been informed by the CSC, CSIS, the FBI, any security agency, or anyone in the federal government that an identifiable foreign actor targeted or is targeting an MP or group of MPs, and the individuals being targeted have not been informed of that threat? When you know a specific member or members and you know of a specific foreign state actor, are you aware of any outstanding notifications to members that have not been done yet?
I can answer from a cyber perspective. No, we don't.
Anybody?
Go ahead, Pat.
It would be no, sir.
So there's no outstanding claims that you're aware of. In this case, you were aware of members being targeted, aware through security agencies of who the specific. There's no other outstanding cases that 3 months down the road we're going to see through a whistleblower or a media report that X, Y, or Z happened. There's nothing outstanding that anybody has of what outstanding of members not being notified that you're aware of.
Through you, Mr. Chair, anytime our principal partner for intelligence contacts us and provides us information in regards to a member of parliament, we put them in immediate contact with that member of parliament.
Mr. Jansen, I want to ask you a question. The committee adopted a document production order directed to the government and to House administration. The order permits government departments to make redactions consistent with the Access to Information Act. Since the House of Commons and in your role is not a government department nor subject to the Access to Information Act, can you confirm that the House administration will be providing us with the unredacted documents in response to this order?
That's certainly our intent. Michelle, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, well, we received the order, production order from the this committee. The way we read the order is that the House Administration is considered as a department. So we were to apply the principle that were set in the order respecting the redactions. If the committee wants to provide further clarification on the order, production order, we'll be happy to implement the production order as adopted by the committee.
The way you read that as a department, but the House of Commons is not, when we read this, is not a department, and it is not an agency, so it would not be encompassed with what was the directive of this committee.
Sir, and through you, Mr. Chair, and respectfully, when committees adopt production orders, we have to interpret them. When we read the order, the way it was written, and it's not unusual in an act of parliament where the House of Commons is deemed to be a department for a very specific purpose, but in general, and because of separation of power, and very clearly, the House of Commons is not a department. So that's how we read the production order, that we were assimilated to a department for the purpose of that order. So we were empowered to, well, not empowered, but we were to suggest redactions to the committee. And if I may say, the production order refers to acts of parliament. It's not clear because it refers to the Access of Information and Privacy Act. Well, those are two separate acts. So when dealing with production orders, we always have to interpret them when there's ambiguity. And if I may say, if there's any need to consult the administration and our office when drafting such production order, we'll be happy to assist to make sure that the intention of the committee is reflected in the order.
Mr. Duncan, I'm afraid that's all the time.